Good evening, everyone. Let's call me Kwabena for the context of the story. And I'm 48 years old. What I'm about to share with you is the biggest regret of my life. A regret so heavy that I wake up every single day wishing I could turn back time. I was married to my wife for 15 years. 15 long years. And I threw it all away for a lie. For a son that was never mine, for a woman who was using me while I was destroying the only person who truly loved me. Today, I live alone. My 4 daughters barely speak to me. The woman I thought would give me everything took everything from me instead. Let me tell you the story from the beginning so you can understand just how badly I destroyed my own life. Hi, boss mom. Welcome back to another episode. If you're new here, my name is Ohemaa. I bring interesting stories. So if you love interesting stories, let's be friends. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And make sure you hit on that notification bell so that as soon as I drop a new juicy video, you will be the first person to be informed. Without wasting much time, let me say a quick shout out to these amazing supporters. Ifia Sunshine J1J _ Betsy _ this is like a third time, and the last person is Dachi Ohemaa Papa B. I think this is the second time, for being the first people to comment on my last story. Thank you guys so much, and I love you all. Thank you for the support. Without wasting much time, today's story is very juicy. Let's get right into today's confession. When I first met my wife, let's call her Abna, we were both in our early 20s. I was 23, fresh out of the university with a degree in accounting, but no job. She was 21, working as a sales assistant in a small shop, trying to support her family. We met at a church program. I remember the first time I saw her, she was wearing a very nice, simple blue dress, singing in the choir. She had the most beautiful voice, soft, gentle, like everything about her was just on point. We started talking after the service. She was shy at first, but when she opened up, I discovered she was kind, intelligent, and had dreams of maybe going back to school one day to study teaching because she loved teaching. I fell in love with her quickly. And she loved me too. I could see it in the way she looked at me, the way she supported my dreams, even when I had nothing to offer her. We dated for 2 years before I finally got a decent job in Accra. That's when I asked her to marry me. We had a small traditional ceremony and even a smaller white wedding. We couldn't afford much, but we were happy. At least I thought we were. Looking back now, I can see that even then, there was a poison growing up inside me. A poison planted by my own family's expectations. You see, I come from a very traditional family where sons are seen as everything. My father had 4 sons and 2 daughters, and he always made it clear that the boys were his pride. Sons carry the family name, he would say. Sons take care of you in old age. Sons are your legacy. Growing up, I watched how differently my father treated my brothers compared to my sisters. My sisters were loved, yes, but my brothers were valued. There was a clear difference. So when Abna and I got married, everyone, my uncles, my father, my aunties, everyone said the same thing. Make sure you give us grandsons, strong boys to carry the family forward. The pressure was there from the beginning, but I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself I would love whatever children God gave us. But I was lying to myself. 3 years into our marriage, Abna got pregnant with our first child. I was excited, nervous, hopeful, and deep down, I was praying for a boy. When the doctor said, "Congratulations, you have a beautiful baby girl," I smiled. I held my daughter and I told Abna she did well. But inside there was a tiny voice of disappointment. I pushed it down. I told myself it was normal. The next one will be a boy, I thought, just like everyone else was saying. Our daughter, let's call my first daughter Akusia, was a beautiful baby, looked just like her mother. Abna was exhausted from the delivery but was happy. She would hold Akusia for hours, singing for her, staring at her like she was the most precious thing in the world. I should have felt the same way, but that tiny disappointment grew a little bigger every time someone asked me, When are you giving us the boy? 2 years later, Abna got pregnant again. This time I was certain it would be a boy. I just had this feeling. Another girl. Let's call her Amma. Beautiful, healthy, perfect, but not what I wanted. I remember my father's face when I told him it was another girl. He tried to hide his disappointment, but I saw it. Don't worry, he said, patting my shoulder. The third one, that's when the boy comes. By the time our third daughter, let's call her Ya, was born, I wasn't even hiding my disappointment anymore. When people asked about the baby, I would say things like, another girl. We will try again. As if my daughters were failed attempts. As if they weren't whole, complete, wonderful human beings. Abna never complained. By the time our third daughter, let's call her Ya, was born, I wasn't even hiding my disappointment anymore. When people ask about the baby, I would say things like, another girl, we'll try again. As if my daughters were failed attempt. As if they weren't whole, complete, and wonderful human beings. Abna never complained. She loved each of our girls completely. She was a devoted mother, sacrificing everything for them. She had stopped working after Akusia was born because childcare was expensive, and we agreed it made more sense for her to stay at home. So she became completely dependent on me financially. I was the breadwinner. I paid for everything. I made all the major decisions, and slowly, I started using that power against her. After Ya was born, I started saying things I'm deeply ashamed of, hurtful things, cruel things. During arguments, usually about money or something small, I would say, maybe if you had given me a son, I'll be more motivated to work harder. Or when she asked for money for children's needs, I'll say all these expenses for girls. If I had a son, at least I know my investments were worth it. These words, they were like poison, and I kept injecting them into our marriage. The worst part is that Abna never fought back. She would just become quiet. Sometimes I'll see tears in her eyes. Sometimes she will whisper, I'm sorry. Sorry. She was apologizing for something she had no control over, as if the gender of our children was a choice she made to hurt me. My father and uncles will visit and make comments. Kwabna, you need to try harder. 4 girls? You need at least one son to carry your name. And instead of defending my wife, instead of standing up for my family, I would nod and agree. I would join in their disappointment. I remember one evening, our daughter Akusia was about 8 years old at the time. She came to me excited about her school report. She had gotten first position in her class. She was so proud, holding that report card with the biggest smile. Daddy, look, I came first. You know what I said? I barely looked up from the phone. I said, that's good. Go show your mother. The light in her eyes dimmed. She walked away slowly, holding her report card. Abna gave me a look that day. A look of such profound disappointment. But she didn't say anything. She just hugged Akusia and celebrated with her, making up for my coldness. That's the kind of father I was. My daughters would achieve things, and I could barely acknowledge them because they weren't the son I wanted. Then came our 4th daughter, Ifwa. When Abna told me she was pregnant again, I didn't even feel excited. I felt burdened. Another mouth to feed. I thought, another girl, probably. Throughout that pregnancy, I was distant. I didn't attend the clinic visits like I had the first pregnancy. I didn't talk to Abner's belly or prepare the baby's room with excitement. When Ifwa was born, that's my 4th child, another healthy, beautiful baby girl, I felt nothing but frustration. I barely visited Abner in the hospital. When I did, I stayed for maybe 30 minutes and left. My own mother had to call me and scold me. Kwabna, your wife just gave birth and you're acting like this. What kind of man are you? I didn't care. I felt like life had cheated me. 4 daughters, 4, and no son. After Efua was born, I became even worse to my wife. I would come home late, claiming I was working. Sometimes I was, but sometimes I just didn't want to be home, surrounded by all these girls. I stopped helping with the children. I stopped asking my wife how her day was. I stopped caring about her dreams or her needs. She had given up so much for our family. She had put her own education on hold. She had sacrificed her career. She had devoted herself entirely to raising our children. And instead of appreciating her, I made her feel like she had failed me. There were times I shouted at her in front of the children, times I said cruel things that made her cry, times I told her directly, "You failed as a wife because you couldn't give me a son." Can you imagine saying that to someone you claim to love? To the mother of your children, to a woman who stood by you when you had nothing? Our daughters witnessed all of this. Akosia, our eldest, started becoming quiet and withdrawn. She would try to be perfect, perfect grades, perfect behavior, as if she could somehow make it up for being a girl. One day, Abna tried to talk to me. She sat down and said gently, "Kwabna, the children can hear when you say those things. They are starting to think they are not good enough. They are starting to feel unwanted. You know what I said? Maybe they should feel that way. Maybe then God will give me a son." The look on her face, it was like I had physically struck her. She got up without a word and went to the bedroom. I heard her crying through the door, but I didn't go to her. I just sat there convinced I was the one who had been wronged by life. My friends started noticing how I talked about my family. One of them pulled me aside one day and said, "Boss, you have 4 healthy children and a good wife. Why are you so angry all the time?" I brushed him off. "You don't understand." I said, "You have 2 sons. It's easy for you to see." He shook his head. "Man, you are destroying your own family with your own hands. One day you regret this." I didn't listen. I was too caught up in my own bitterness to see what I was doing. Everything changed about 3 years ago when I met another woman. Let's call her Sewa. Though she insisted everyone call her Mami Sewa to sound more sophisticated. I met her at a friend's birthday party. It was a fancy event at a nice hotel. The kind of party where people come to see and to be seen. I almost didn't go because Abna had asked me to stay home and help with Ifua, who was sick. But I went anyway, telling myself I deserved to have some fun. Mami Sewa was there, dressed in an expensive outfit, confident, laughing loudly with a group of people. She was the kind of woman who commanded attention in the room. We were introduced by a mutual friend. When she heard my name, she said, "Kwabna, I've heard about you. You work at that big accounting firm, right? You must be doing very well." I felt flattered. Here was this beautiful, sophisticated woman who seemed impressed by me. We talked for a while at the party. She asked about my family, and when I told her I had 4 daughters, she did something unexpected. She tilted her head sympathetically and said, "4 daughters and no sons? That must be so hard for you. A strong, successful man like you deserves to have a son to carry your legacy." Those words, it was like she had reached into my soul and validated every frustration I had been feeling. Finally, I thought, someone who understands. She gave me her number that night. "Call me sometime," she said with a smile. "I enjoy talking to ambitious men like you." I should have thrown that number away. I should have gone home to my wife and children and counted my blessings. But I didn't. I called her 3 days later. We met for coffee. Coffee turned into lunch. Lunch turned into dinner. She was everything Abena wasn't. Or at least, everything I thought Abena wasn't. She was exciting, always dressed well, always laughing, always making me feel important and special. Abena, in comparison, was tired all the time. Always in house clothes, always busy with the children, always stressed about bills and homework and keeping the house running. I started comparing them constantly in my mind. Mami Sewa would listen to me complain about work and make me feel like a hero for dealing with so much stress. Abna would ask me to help with the children when I come home, which made me feel burdened. Mami Sewa would laugh at all my jokes and tell me I was brilliant. Abna would point out when I was being unfair and hurtful, which I interpreted as nagging. Looking back, I realized I was comparing a woman who had nothing to lose with a woman who was carrying my entire household on her shoulders. It wasn't a fair comparison at all. But I wasn't thinking clearly. I was thinking with my ego, my disappointment, my selfishness. The affair started about 2 months after we met. I told myself it was just temporary, just something to make me feel better, just a distraction. But it grew into something bigger. I started spending more time with Mami Sewa and less time at home. I started giving her money that should have gone to my family. I've now noticed the change. She would ask, "Where were you?" Or "Why are you coming home so late?" I would get angry at her for asking. "I'm working. I'm providing for this family. You should be grateful," instead of questioning me. She would back down, apologize, even though she had done nothing wrong, because she knew she depended on me. She knew she had no income of her own. She knew if she pushed too hard, I might leave. And I used that power against her. I knew she was trapped and I exploited it. 6 months into the affair, Mami Sawa told me she was pregnant. I remember exactly where we were when she said it. "Kwabna," she said softly, "I have something to tell you. I'm pregnant." My heart stopped. "Are you sure?" "Yes, I did 3 tests, all positive." Then she said the words that changed everything. I think you are finally going to have your son." My entire body filled with hope and excitement. After all these years, after 4 daughters, I thought God had finally given me what I wanted. "How do you know it's a boy?" I asked. She smiled. "I just know. I can feel it. This is your son, Kobna, the son you've always wanted." I believed her. I wanted to believe her so badly that I didn't question anything. That night, I went home and looked at Abna, really looked at her. She was in the kitchen preparing dinner, looking exhausted as usual. Our daughters were doing their homework at the table, and I felt nothing. No connection, no love, no appreciation. All I could think was, "You gave me 4 daughters. Mami Sewa is giving me a son. It's time to move on." The next week, I told Abna I was leaving. The day I told her I was leaving, it was a Saturday. I remember because the girls were home from school. I had packed a bag earlier and hidden it in my car. I came home around midday and found Abna in the living room folding laundry while the girls watched TV. "Abna, we need to talk." She looked up, saw my face, and immediately knew something was wrong. "Girls, go upstairs for a moment," she said quietly. Akosia, our eldest, who was 14 at the time, stared at me with knowing eyes. She had heard us fighting too many times. She knew something bad was coming. When the girls left, Abna stood up and faced me. "What is it?" I couldn't even look her in the eyes. "I'm leaving. I've met someone else and I'm leaving." The silence that followed was deafening. She just stared at me, her mouth slightly open, like she couldn't process what she had just heard. "You are leaving," she repeated slowly. "After 15 years, after 4 children, you are just leaving." "Yes." "For another woman?" "Yes." "Is she pregnant?" I was shocked that she guessed. "How did you?" "Because that's the only thing that would make you finally do this," she said, her voice shaking. "Let me guess. She told you it's a boy." I didn't answer, which was answer enough. Abna laughed, then a broken, bitter laugh that I had never heard from her before. "A son? You are destroying our family for a son you don't even know is real yet." "She's sure," I said defensively. "And even if it's not a boy, at least she's not." I stopped myself, but it was too late. "Not what?" Abner's eyes were filled with tears. "Not like me. Not someone who failed to give you what you wanted." "Abner, get out." Her voice was quiet but firm. "Get out of my house." "It's my house," I said stupidly. "I paid for it." "Then take it," she shouted, all the years of pains finally exploding. "Take everything. Take the house. Take the money. Take your freedom. But you will not take my dignity anymore. You will not stand here and make me feel like I'm worthless because I gave you 4 beautiful daughters instead of a son." Her shouting brought the girls running downstairs. Akosia came first, followed by the rest. "Mama, what's wrong?" Akosia asked. My wife was crying now, trying to wipe her tears, but they kept coming. "Your father is leaving." "Leaving?" Yeah, I asked. She was only 10. "Leaving where?" I couldn't speak. I just stood there like a coward while my wife had to explain to our children that their father was abandoning them. Daddy is going to live somewhere else. But why? Efua asked. She was only 7. Daddy, she turned to me, her eyes full of accusation and pain. Daddy, why are you leaving us? What did we do wrong? You didn't do anything wrong, I managed to say. Then why? Why are you leaving Mama? Why are you leaving us? I had no answer. What could I say? Because you are girls and I want a boy. How do you say that to your children? Amma, who was 12 and usually quiet, said something that pierced my heart. Is it because we are not boys? Is that why you are leaving? The room was silent. Even Abna looked shocked that Amma had said that out loud. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. Amma's face crumpled. I'm sorry we are not boys, Daddy. I'm sorry we are not what you wanted. No, that's not. I tried to go to her, but she backed away. We've never been enough for you, Akosia said. We've tried so hard to make you proud. Good grades, good behavior, everything. But we were never going to be enough because we are girls. My wife put her arms around our daughters and all 4 of them crying together. I just stood there, watching the family I was destroying. You should go now, my wife said quietly. Please, just go. I picked up my bag. As I walked to the door, Fua broke away from her mother and ran to me. Daddy, please, don't go. She sobbed, holding onto my bag. I'll be good. I promise I'll be good. Please don't leave. I had to pry her little hands away. The feeling of her fingers slipping away from my leg, I can still feel it. I still have nightmares about it. I walked out of that house and didn't look back. I heard the first screaming for me, heard all of them crying, but I kept walking. I drove away from 15 years of marriage, from 4 beautiful daughters, from a wife who had given me everything. And for what? For a promise of a son from a woman I barely knew. That day was the biggest mistake of my life, but I wouldn't realize it for 2 more years. Moving in with my Misewa felt like entering into a different world. She lived in a nice apartment, much fancier than my family home. Everything was clean, organized, quiet. No children running around, no noise, no chaos. It felt like peace, or at least that's what I told myself. When the baby was born, 7 months after I left Abna, I was at the hospital and she had relatively easy delivery. And when the nurse came out and said, congratulations, it's a boy, I felt like I had won the lottery. A boy, a son, finally. They brought him to me and I held him for the first time. He was tiny, wrinkled, perfect. I stared at him and thought, this is what I've been waiting for. This is my legacy. This is my son. We named my son after me, and Mami Sewa insisted on adding Junior to everything, even though it wasn't his official name. I was completely devoted to that child. Whatever Mami Sewa wanted for the baby, I provided immediately. Expensive baby clothes, the best crib, imported formula, everything. She wanted a bigger house, so I bought one. A 4-bedroom house. Cost me almost all my savings, but I didn't care. I was providing for my son. She wanted to start a fashion business, so I gave her capital, a lot of money to rent a shop, buy inventories, hire workers. Every time she asked for something, I gave it because I thought I was building a future. I thought I was finally being the man my father wanted me to be, a man with a son. Meanwhile, I barely sent money to Abna and my daughters. When Abna called asking for school fees, I would send just enough and nothing more. When she asked for money for clothes or food, I would complain about how I had my own expenses now. My mother called me one day furious. Kwabna, your daughters are suffering. Abna is struggling to feed them. What kind of a man abandons his children like this? I sent them money, I protested. Barely. Meanwhile, you've bought a mansion for that woman. You think we didn't hear about it? You are spending all your money on her while your daughters are wearing old clothes and eating 1 meal a day. Mama, I have a son now. I need to secure his future. Those 4 girls are also your children, she shouted. Or have you forgotten them completely? We argued and I hung up on her. I told myself she didn't understand. Nobody understood. But the truth is, I I was so intoxicated by finally having a son that I had erased my daughters from my mind. I rarely called them. I missed birthdays. I forgot school events. Akosia, my eldest, stopped calling me daddy when we spoke. She would just say yes or no to my questions. The warmth was completely gone. One day she called me, rare, since she usually waited for me to call. Daddy, I got accepted into the University of Ghana, and I'm going to study medicine. I should have been overjoyed. My daughter getting into medical school. But instead, I just said, that's good. Medical school is expensive though. I don't know if I can afford it. Silence on the other end, then quietly, don't worry, we'll find a way. She hung up and I went back to playing with Junior, not even realizing what I had just done. Life with my Sewa seemed perfect on the surface, but there were small things that bothered me. She was always buying expensive things, designer bags, shoes, jewelries. When I asked about it, she would say it was from her business profits. But her business didn't seem to be doing well at all. She was secretive with her phone, always stepping out to take certain calls. When I asked who it was, she would say just suppliers or just customers. Sometimes she would disappear for hours, claiming she was just at the shop. But when I visited the shop, her workers would say she hadn't been there. I pushed the doubts away and I told myself I was being paranoid. After all, she had given me a son. That was all that mattered. But then my son started growing and I noticed something that made my blood run cold. He didn't look like me at all. At all. Babies change as they grow, so at first I ignored it. But by the time he was 1 year old, the differences were undeniable. My skin is dark, but my son's skin was much lighter. My nose is broad, but his nose was narrow and pointed. My ears stick out a bit, but his were flat against his head. I started comparing him to the photos of myself as a baby. There was no resemblance whatsoever. People started commenting on it too. My friends would say jokingly, boss, this boy doesn't look like you. Maybe he looks like his mother's side. But he didn't look much like Mame Sewa either. The doubt started eating me up. For months, I tried to ignore it, but it grew. It grew until I couldn't take it anymore. I decided to get a DNA test secretly without telling Mame Sewa. I took a sample from Junior one day when I was alone with him, just a cheek swab, and sent it to a private lab along with my own sample. When the DNA results came back, I was at work. The email arrived in my inbox around 2 p.m. I remember staring at the subject line. My hands were shaking as I opened it. I had to read the key line 3 times before it sank in. Probability of paternity 0%. 0%. The child I had destroyed my family for was not mine. Not even a little bit. The report was clear. There was no biological relationship between me and that boy. I felt like the ground had disappeared beneath me. Everything I had sacrificed, everything I had destroyed, I had nothing. I left my work immediately, drove straight to Mame Sewa's house, the house I had bought with my life savings, with the DNA report printed in my hand. She was home watching TV while Junior played on the floor. We need to talk, I said, my voice shaking with rage. She looked up, saw my face, and immediately her expression changed. What's wrong? I threw the DNA report to the coffee table in front of her. That's what is wrong. Junior is not my son. She picked it up, read it, and her face went pale. This must be wrong. The lab made a mistake. Don't lie to me, I shouted. Who is the father? Who? She started crying, fake tears that I could now see right through. Kwabena, please, I can explain. Explain. You want to explain. Explain? You led me believe that he was mine. I left my family for this child. I destroyed my marriage. I abandoned my daughters, and he's not even mine. It was an accident, she sobbed. I was confused. I didn't know. Who is the father? I demanded again. Finally, she admitted it. It was another man, her ex-boyfriend, someone she had been seeing even while we were together. She had been sleeping with both of us at the same time. When she got pregnant, she wasn't sure who the father was, but she chose to tell me that it was mine because I had more money. She chose me because I had more money. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I thought maybe the baby would be yours. And even if he wasn't, you wanted a son so badly. I thought it would make you happy. Make me happy. You used me. You destroyed my entire life. You destroyed your own life, she shouted back. You were so desperate for a son that you abandoned your own daughters. That's on you, not me. I just gave you what you always wanted. I just gave you what you wanted to believe. I wanted to break something. I wanted to scream, but all I could do was stand there, shaking with rage and grief and the crashing weight of what I had done. Where is the money? I said quietly. What money? All the money I've been giving you for your business, for your expenses, everything. Where is it? She looked away. I used it. For what? For things. For the house. For Junior. For him? I pointed at the door. For your boyfriend. Did you use my money to support him? Her silence was the answer. I later found out through digging into the business records and bank statement that she had been funneling money to her boyfriend for over a year, helping him start a business, buying him things, using me as her personal bank while she built a life with another man. Everything I had given her, the house, the business capital, the monthly allowances, everything she had used to support herself and her real lover, while stringing me along like a fool. I told her I was taking her to court for fraud. I wanted my money back. I wanted justice. You know what she did? She disappeared. Within a week, she had packed up, taken Junior and left the country. I found out later that she had flown to South Africa, probably to be with the real father. The house I bought, she had somehow gotten her name on the title through some documents that I had signed without reading carefully. When I tried to claim it, I found out legally that it was hers. My lawyer said I could fight it, but it would take years and I probably wouldn't win. The business closed down, inventory sold, money gone. Everything I had built for her vanished just like that. I was left with nothing. Not just money-wise, but soul-wise. I had nothing left. After Mami Sawa disappeared with Junior, the child I now knew wasn't even mine. I hit rock bottom. I was financially broken, emotionally destroyed, spiritually dead. I had lost almost all my savings buying that house. The money I had given her for her business, the monthly expenses, all gone. I was still working, but I missed so many days dealing with this drama that my job was at risk. I was a shell of a man I used to be. And then, in my lowest moment, I thought about one place I might still find forgiveness. My wife, my daughters, the family I had thrown away. I called Abner's number. It rang several times before she picked up. Hello. Her voice was different, stronger somehow. Abner, it's me. What do you want? I need to talk to you. Can I come and see you? She asked why. And I said I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. The boy, he's not mine. She lied. She used me. Everything fell apart. And now you want to come back. Please, Abner. I know I don't deserve it, but please, can we just talk? Another long silence. Then fine. Come tomorrow at 2 p.m. But just to talk. Nothing more. The next day, I drove to the house I had left 3 years ago. It looked different. The gate was painted a new color. There were flowers in the compound that hadn't been there before. I knocked on the door, and when it opened, I almost didn't recognize the woman standing there. It was Abna, but she had changed. She had lost weight, not in an unhealthy way, but in a way that made her look strong, fit. Her hair was different, cut short in a modern style. She was wearing jeans and a nice blouse, not the house clothes I remember. But the biggest change were her eyes. They weren't the tired, defeated eyes I remembered. They were clear, confident, strong. Come in, she said, stepping aside. I walked into the living room and saw more changes. New furnitures, new curtain, photos on the wall, photos of Abna and the girls smiling at various places, the beach, a restaurant, a graduation ceremony. Sit down, Abna said, taking a seat across from me. Finally, you look good. Different. Thank you, she said. A lot has changed in 3 years. I can see that. The house looks nice too. We've made it a home, she said. Abna, I wanted to apologize for everything. I was wrong. So terribly wrong. The boy wasn't mine. Mama Sewa was using me the whole time. She took everything and left the country. I lost everything. And now you want to come back. She finished it for me. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I know what I did was unforgivable. But I'm asking anyway. Please, give me another chance. Let me come home. Let me be the father to our girls again. Let me make this right. Amna looked at me for a moment. Then she said something that made my heart sink. No. Abna, please. You don't understand, she said calmly. It's not about whether you deserve it or not. It's not about whether I'm angry or not. It's about the fact that I have moved on. Moved on? Yes. For 3 years, I've been building a new life, a better life. I'm not going back to the old one. What do you mean? What new life? After you left, I was devastated, broken. I had 4 daughters to feed, no job, no income. You were barely sending money. I cried for weeks. Then I realized something. I realized that I had been depending on you for everything. Money, decisions, my whole identity was wrapped up in being your wife. And when you left, I had to become someone new. My cousin helped me get a loan. I started a small business, selling food at a local office. Just simple meals, but people loved it. It grew. Now I have a small restaurant. Nothing fancy, but it pays our bills, all of them. I don't need your money anymore. I felt a strange sensation, pride mixed with loss. I also went back to school, she said. Online courses in business management. I finished last year, got my certificate. That's amazing, Abna. I'm happy for you. Are you? Or are you just happy that I survived without you so you don't have to feel guilty? I couldn't answer that. The girls have grown up beautifully. Akosia is in medical school. She got a full scholarship. No thanks to you. She's brilliant, strong, determined. Amma is in her final year in secondary school. She wants to be an engineer. Ya is discovering that she's an amazing artist. Ifwa, despite everything, is the happiest child you'd ever meet. I want to see them, I said. I want to be in their lives again. They don't want you. They don't want to see you. That hits me like a punch in my chest. What? I asked them before you came. I asked if they wanted their father back in their lives. Akosia said no immediately. Amma said she would think about it, but probably no. Ya said she doesn't remember you well enough to care. Efua said she used to cry for you every night, but now she's okay without you. Tears started running down my face. Abna, please. They are my daughters. I made mistakes, terrible mistakes, but I'm still their father. Are you? She said quietly. Because a father doesn't abandon his children because they are girls. A father doesn't stop paying school fees because he's spending money on a new girl, on a new woman. A father doesn't miss birthdays and graduations and sick days because he's chasing a dream of having a son. I know I failed them, but I want to make it right. You can't. Some things once broken can't be fixed. You can't get back those 3 years. You can't erase the pain you caused. You can't undo the damage. You are just closing the door on me forever. She looked at me with something that might have been pity. Kwabna, you didn't lose us. You threw us away. You looked at our 4 beautiful, intelligent, loving daughters and decided they weren't good enough because they weren't boys. You looked at a wife who stood by you through poverty, struggle, and decided she was worthless because she didn't give you a son. I was wrong. Yes, you were wrong. And we paid the price for your wrong. We suffered, we cried, we struggled, but we also survived. And more than that, we thrived. We became strong, happier, and more complete without you. She stood up. I don't hate you, Kwabna. I actually feel sorry for you. You destroyed a beautiful family because of pride and selfishness, and now you're alone, realizing too late what you had. I stood up too, desperate. Please, Abna, I'm begging you. I will do anything. I will change. I will spend the rest of my life making this up to you and the girls. Please don't close this door. She walked to the front door and opened it. This door has been closed for 3 years, Komna. You are the one who closed it when you walked out. I'm just not opening it again. Abna, goodbye, Kwabna. I hope you find peace, but you won't find it here. And she closed the door. I stood outside the house, staring at the closed door, and realized fully what I had lost. Not just the wife and children. I had lost my home, my family, my second chance, everything. That was 6 months ago. Since then, I've been living alone in a small apartment, a huge downgrade from the mansion I bought from Mami Sewa, but it's what I can afford for now. Every day I wake up and the first thought in my mind is, what have I done? I destroyed my own family with my own hands. Nobody did this to me. I did it to myself. I think about my daughters constantly. I wonder what Akosia is studying in medical school. I wonder if Amma still like maths. I wonder what kind of art Ya creates. I wonder if Ifua remembers my face. I've tried reaching out to them individually. I sent Akosia a message congratulating her on getting into medical school and offering to help with expenses. She applied, no thank you. I have everything I need. I tried calling Amma on her birthday. She didn't pick up. I sent Ya a message asking if I could see her at work. She blocked me. Ifua is too young to have her own phone, so I can't even try with her. My daughters have erased me from their lives and I deserve it. The worst part is seeing photos of them on social media. Abena posts sometimes. They look so happy, so complete, like they don't need me at all. And the truth is, they don't. I had 4 daughters and I treated them like disappointments, like they were mistakes, like they weren't enough. But they were always enough. They were always more than enough. They were brilliant, beautiful, wonderful children who deserved a father's love. I also think about Mami Sawa sometimes too. I wonder if she's happy in South Africa with the real father of her child. My father died last year. Before he passed, he said something to me that I'll never forget. He called me to his bedside and said, Kwabna, I'm sorry. I was confused. Sorry for what, Dad? For making you think sons were more important than daughters. For making you think your worth as a man depended on having a boy to carry your name. I was wrong. And I filled your head with wrong thinking. Now look what it cost you. He died 2 days later. And I realized that even my father, in his final moments, saw how badly I failed. My mother still speaks to me, but with disappointment in every word. My siblings shake their head at me. My friends have distanced themselves. I'm alone, truly alone, and it's all my fault. Sometimes I drive past my old house, not to knock or disturb them, just to see it from outside. I see the lights in the evening. Sometimes I hear them talk and their laughter. I see my daughters coming home from school, and I sit in my car, watching the life I threw away. People sometimes ask me if I regret it. The regret doesn't even come close to describing how I feel. So tonight, I'm bringing my story to you and asking the same question I asked Abna. Would you forgive me? If you were my wife, after everything I did, the cruelty, the abandonment, the rejection of your children, the affair, the financial neglect, would you give me another chance? If you were my daughters, could you forgive a father who made you feel unwanted your entire childhood because you weren't boys? I know what most of you will say. You will say I don't deserve forgiveness. You will say I got what I deserved. You will say I should live with my guilt, and you are right. But I'm asking anyway because I need to know. Is there any path to back from this? Is there any way to redeem a man who destroyed everything good in his life? Whew. Such a sad story. If you were the wife or if you were a daughter, would you forgive him for all what he has done? Let me know your opinions about this story in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure you share this video to your friend to also enjoy the story and learn from it as well. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell so that as soon as I drop a new juicy video, you will be the first person to be informed. Till I see you in the next story. Bye.